let's talk about football. Okay, so when people are playing football, if I'm playing catch with Nick here and we're throwing a football back and forth, and Brendan decides to come up and grab the ball in between us, okay? Brendan was not even part of our game. That had nothing to do. Me and Nick was on the team. We were playing back and forth, okay? Brendan came and cut across and intercepted that ball. Okay, now I know that the lingo is not totally matched up with actual football because it is way more fancy than that, but hopefully you get the overall concept. Okay, so when we're looking at this on the graph, okay, there are two pieces to a graph really, the X line and the Y line. Okay, and so on these very first ones, they want you to sketch the graph of the line. And so we see here that the x-intercept is at 3. So we're going to go to the x line and find the 3 and put a dot. Okay, and then it gives us our y-intercept. So we're going to go to the y line, which is right here, and we're going to find -2. So we're going to travel, this entire line is the y line, and we're going to travel to -2 and put a dot. Okay, now, this is not acceptable to draw. That's a line segment, it's not a line. They want you to draw a line. So this should be extended and have 2 arrows on both ends to let us know that that line continues forever and ever. Okay, so if we look at number 3, the x-intercept, right here's the x line, is at 4. So we're going to put a dot. And the y-intercept is at -1. So we're going to go to the y line and find the -1 and put our dot. Brendan, did you check in? And then we're going to draw a line through with 2 arrows on both ends. Okay, number 5 is the same thing. We're going to go to the x line and find -1. And then we're going to go to the y line, and my intercept is at -2. Okay, number 7, my x-intercept is at 2, and my y is at -1. Okay, and then last one, number 9, my x-intercept is at -5, and my y-intercept is at 4. Okay, the next part on here is the same but different, okay? They gave us the graph and they want you to identify the intercepts. Now, you could have no x-intercepts and 5 y-intercepts, or you could have 1 and 1, right, like we just graphed. You could have none, okay? So if a graph is like this, right, it doesn't cross this x line or this y line at all. Okay, so it might cross 1 time, 5 times, 10 times. If it's like this, right, it crosses a whole bunch of times. And so we can have multiple of those. Okay, so over here, just write x equals and our y equals. Okay, so starting with the x-intercept, this is my x line, and you can kind of just follow it over and see where does it touch the graph, or does it touch the graph? And it does, and what is this right here? This is at what? -3. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with the y line. Okay, so where does it touch the y line? are you guys seeing 5? It doesn't touch anywhere. So we're looking at this entire line, and this one does not touch the graph at all, right? So this is my graph picture, right? And it doesn't even touch that one. So this one has none. There are no y-intercepts. Okay, 13. We're going to say x and y. Okay, start by looking at your x line. Where does it touch the graph? Start following it over. At 2, right here. Okay, and you can keep going over and checking. It doesn't touch anywhere else. Okay, for the y, you're going to start in the up and down. Okay, does it touch the graph at all?
-1.
Right here at -1. Okay, 15. Okay, where does it touch the x line? Or does it? At -2. Where does it touch the y line? At 2. Okay, 17. Where does it touch the x line? At -3. Where else? At 3. No, we cannot do a comma. Okay, so don't say -3, comma 3. Okay, you are more than welcome to write the word and or use a slash, but we cannot use a comma. So when we put a comma there, that represents a coordinate or a location, and so that's not allowed. Okay, so it touches here and here. So this one has 2. Okay, what about the y line? It touches here at 3. Where else?
-5.
-5. Okay, 19, I got. Where does it touch the x line?
1.
Okay, now, let's talk about acceptable answers before you guys continue, and hopefully you have not done your other side, but if you have, you need to go back and look. Okay, so, it most certainly does touch at 7. I will totally agree with that. Now, so we see here this one, and I get where you got 1 from, okay? So, when we talk about acceptable answers, is writing down 100 an acceptable answer for that? No, okay, because it's not exactly on 1, is it? No, but it is between 1 and what? 2. So any number between 1 and 2 would be fine. You write 1, 1.5, 1.25, 1.75, all the way to 2 is an acceptable answer, okay? If you write me 4, obviously it's definitely not 4, okay? But you can't exactly say 100% where that mark is, okay? So, other than that, I don't care. If you want to write down 1, you can write down 1. If you want to write 1.25, you can write that, okay? I'm going to go with 1 because that's what Michael said first. But anywhere between 1 and 2 is totally fine. Okay, what about the y? Where does it cross the y line?
-4, 5, -5.
Okay, so notice how it's going up. That means it only crosses 1 time. Do you mean like...
It's kind of in between. So.
Yes, so any number between -4 and -5 would totally do, but there is only 1. Okay, you guys have 10 to do. Go through and get your 10 done.